Warning. Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
That's right.
Warning.
The warning has been issued.
You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
You have, in fact, entered the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. I am your host, and I'll be doing a short show stream this evening, primarily for the purposes of testing some technology, but we're going to cover a couple of things, and let me make sure that we're up and running here because I'm trying something new, and I just want to make sure we're rolling. I know we're not on Instagram because I already messed that one up, but who cares about Instagram anyway? Nevertheless, I believe we are live across all the other platforms. And the first thing I want to cover tonight in this experimental stream, short stream, is an idea that I've been rolling around in my head, and I would love to get some of y'all's thoughts in the chats and just comments on the video if you watch it after or if you listen to the audio version of it. I'm considering doing something that I've witnessed others do over the past couple of years to promote themselves, for one, but two, also to demonstrate something that I think needs to be demonstrated, and that is running for governor of Georgia. I'm considering throwing my name in the hat for governor of Georgia against Brad Raffensperger and all the other clowns, not because I want to become governor of Georgia. That would be awful. That would be something I would absolutely hate. I would never do that, only to promote my podcast. Because that's why people run for office, is to promote their podcast and their shows, so that once they fail as a governor or they grift as a governor, they then take their audience they've gained back to their podcast and they flourish from the ultimate grift in politics, which is to pump up your numbers in your podcasting game. Now, that's not really the only reason I would run for governor. There's another reason that would demonstrate what I do on my show, which would be a campaign. This is what I would campaign as. I would campaign not to win. I would campaign to do a public vetting process of all the other candidates, because that's what I'm good at. I'll ask the questions. I'll bring out the information that the mainstream media, the establishment, will never ask. The AJC-controlled journalists will never ask because they're in their pocket. Questions that I ask on this show all the time, but we get suppressed, we get shadow banned, so they don't reach the light of day to a broader audience. I would bring that vetting process to the forefront of a campaign. People like Brad Raffensperger would not be able to avoid questions like his very shady CIA weird past, maybe allegedly. I would just ask these questions. Are you Canadian? Were you even born in America? Tell us about your brother and your back. I would bring this public vetting process. That would be the only reason to keep me in the race, is because I would make sure the vetting was transparent, public, and right to the heart of the matter that gets avoided all the time. Those are the uncomfortable questions that don't get asked except on podcast. That nobody. Zach says I could probably get the LP nomination. I'm seriously considering it. I think it would be fun because I do not want to win. So anybody who would support me would need to understand. I would not want you to vote for me to win. I would say vote for me or keep me in the race however long. Support me strictly so we can do, and I would ask questions everybody wanted, a public vetting process of these clowns. Because when you're not trying to manipulate people into electing you for power and you simply want to expose their nonsense, there's no possibility where, you're going to get what you asked for. I can have fun with that. I can't have fun trying to grift people and lie about a bunch of political stuff like all these politicians do, but I can have a lot of fun with putting those questions they don't want to ask in their face. Zach says the LP candidate gets invited to the GPB debate. So that's like something that, as long as, I know Shane did great. Shane Hazel, when he ran for governor last time, he did a great job. He knew his talking point, not his talking points, but he knew the message to deliver. He delivered it well. He asked the right questions up there, and really, he was the best candidate. But of course, the best candidate's not going to win when you have we have a linebacker like Stacey Abrams, and you have go Georgia Bulldogs, but don't ask questions about the election guy like Brian Kemp. I encourage anybody who's good at making AI photos to make Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams in compromising positions with your AI photos, just because I think it's funny. But nevertheless, Shane did a great job. I would not do as good a job as him. There's no doubt about that. He's much more informed on the issues than I am. My strength is bringing research that I have on candidates to the podium and putting them on the spot. I would not even answer the questions I was asked. I mean, I might allude, like, I get asked a question by one of the moderators, but yeah, it's great. Now, I'm going to ask the real question that none of you clowns from the AJC, the debate, the GPB debate, will not ask. So that would be my campaign platform. And I would love to hear anybody's thoughts on it, like I said, in the chats and the comments, because I am seriously doing that. Again, to do a public vetting process and to promote my podcast. I'm going to be very open about that. All right, so moving on to the next subject. What's up, Stoner? Good to see you. What do you think, Stoner? Should I run for governor of Georgia? It would be a campaign of promoting my podcast and a public vetting process of these clowns that never happens from the bought and paid for journalists that get the access to them. It's a way to get access through me for the oppressed voices of conspiracy theorists like ourselves. I don't even know if so there's so many different definitions of that word going around. I could do a whole show on the different ways they apply that definition to different people and they use it. So it's you have to actually be very clearly, you have to be very nuanced in your description of what you are when you like embrace that you're into conspiracies and whatnot. I'm not going to do that today, but I'd love to hear y'all's feedback on the governor thing. Speaking of, well, we'll get to the language thing in a second, but I do want to say Happy Giving Tuesday to everyone. Do you celebrate Giving Tuesday? What the hell is Giving Tuesday? Was anybody like the past couple weeks going, man, just 14 more days to Giving Tuesday, just 10 more days to Giving Tuesday, just one more day to Giving Tuesday. It's finally here. Bill Gates squeezes his fat white ass down your chimney and injects you with a vaccine and unleashes super mosquitoes in your house. And then he goes off and he donates money to some money laundering front so that he can say that he's a good guy in the global. That seems to be what Giving Tuesday is. I just learned about this today. I'm sure I heard about it before, but I was like, what is Giving Tuesday? And Giving Tuesday appears to be a holiday, I guess. It's created in 2012 that is designed to make billionaires look like they give a shit about the plebes. Because that's all it is look at all these people that are, this is from Wikipedia, by the way, so I didn't do any deep research on this, I don't want to claim that, but Giving Tuesday, often stylized, what a stupid way to, who wrote the Wikipedia entry that said Giving Tuesday, often stylized? Giving Tuesday's got that drip. Shut up, what a retard. Giving Tuesday, often stylized as hashtag Giving Tuesday, in case you were confused, because some of you might have been, Giving Tuesday, is he talking about hashtag Giving Tuesday? I'm confused. I'm happy to have clarified that for you. Often stylized as hashtag Giving Tuesday for the purposes of hashtag activism. I tell you what, that's the lowest form of activism right there. Activism is already pretty low form of things because it's like grandmothers. It's Grand Tifa and just people who watch too much Fox News or too much Rachel Maddow, who go out and they sit in lawn chairs because their grandkids don't care about them. And they shout at just whoever they're... You go to these events and it's a bunch of grandmothers who need to be home. Zach knows. One of them hit on Zach. When we infiltrated one of these groups over at Marietta Square, she wanted to take Zach, Libertarian Zach, you guys know him, from Liberty Libations and from your Big Brother show. What's your Big Brother show, Zach? What's the name of your show again? I want to make sure I get it accurate. You guys know Zach. He's been on the show. Zach's great. Zach can hack all of your computers. He can do some penetration testing, and this grandmother who was protesting wanted Zach to do a little penetration testing, and she wanted to take him to her birthday party of her grandchild to make her MAGA husband jealous. And Zach is happily married with a beautiful newborn baby, so that wasn't going to happen. But still, it's good to see that even in your mid to late 70s, that pettiness of wanting to get your ex is still there. And this poor woman, though, is showing up to all these protests, holding up signs somebody else wrote for her, walking out in the. Some of them are getting arrested, they told us, and it's all because their grandchildren and children don't care about grandma. Go see your grandmother so her money stops getting taken. She's getting robbed by these activist groups. That's what's happening to your grandmothers if they're activists. Nevertheless, Banish Big Brother. So Banish Big Brother is a podcast, Zach. You do that with Elizabeth, right? If I remember correctly. It's probably like the most useful podcast when it comes to privacy and understanding what's going on if you care about that kind of thing, not being watched, not having your rights violated without you realizing it. They know what they're talking about. They know the inside info, and they can explain it to you well. So I would recommend everybody checking that out. It's very useful, especially when you have stories like one I'm going to hit in a second, where there's the hacking of people's. We're going to discover this together, but my cursory reading of it was hackers hack sex cams of private citizens, and my first question is what's the difference in like an Alexa or like a security cam and a sex cam? Is it an indoor ring? Is there a differentiation between a ring cam? No, I don't want the ring cam. I want the sex cam. Do you have one of the sex cams specifically designed to capture my lover or wife and I engaging in intercourse, and I need it to be unhackable? Is there an unhackable? And they'll be, sure. Here's our best sex cam. It gives you great lighting, makes your dick look a little bigger, gives her tits a boost. Would you like to see a little AI demonstration? We can take a picture of you and your wife, and we can have a little deep fake, and we can play it. Yeah, okay. And then they buy it, and then they go home, and they come to find out that some teenager, some college student hacked their sex cam and is trying to extort them now. I don't know, by sharing it on Facebook. We'll find out when we get to the story. Chick magnet he is. Yeah, that's right, Grubinator. Used to work for Dell, says Spirit of the Ages, and I have to say they are Dell's an above average employer. That's good information. So Michael Dell did the thing today with Trump, and so that's not even. I'm just giving some background on it. I did see the thing. I haven't delved into what all that means, but I know they were trying to give we're going to give all your kids, the Dell family, a very beautiful family. They're going to give your children $10,000. Whatever. I think anything that can empower people is fantastic. And I don't know anything else about the Dells other than that. But it is good to hear that they're a good employer. Starbucks used to be a good employer. I never worked there, but I used to do freelance all the time, so I would be in Starbucks everywhere. I loved going to them. That was before the pandemic, and it got all weird. And I learned about Starbucks, and the guy who started it, he ran for president a little while. What was his name? I can't remember his name, but he's a billionaire, and his story is interesting. He actually is a guy who he kind of built up his own. He built his wealth up. It wasn't handed to him like a lot of others, and he's a very creative guy. And every time Starbucks suffered and started to go down, because he would build it up, and then he would say, "Okay, I'm going to go do something else, and let somebody else be the CEO." Somebody else would be the CEO, and it would start to suffer. And it would do bad again, and he'd be like, "All right, you guys suck. I'm going to come fix it again," and he would fix it. And I think he is too far removed to fix what's going on there now, because the Starbucks employees, where is that story? How much did the Starbucks employees get paid? So a bunch of Starbucks baristas were protesting recently. Starbucks will pay for your college. Starbucks will give you paid time off, paid maternity leave. It was one of the best companies. It was like the progressive Chick-fil-A. So they would give you a lot of the similar benefits, but you just have to deal with a little bit of gay shit. which is fine. Who cares? Half the drinks there, just ordering them, you might as well have a penis in your mouth. It just sounds it comes with the territory. That's fine. But but they would train their employees. I used to know a lot of people that worked there. They loved it. And then they started extorting their customers with tips. We just have one question you have to answer. If you put that really, what's going to bring cash back is Starbucks, because everybody hates the one question they have to answer. Because if you don't tip at least $1 before anything, you have to tip $1 before anything happens. You have no idea what the outcome of the service experience is going to be, but you got to go ahead just for your own, a peace of mind. Tip $1. It's like you're paying the purple-haired barista not to stick his lady dick in your coffee. Look, yeah, I'll tip you $1. Just don't put the lady D in my my black grande white chocolate mocha, whatever. Honestly, if you're ordering a lot of white chocolate mochas, then you probably deserve to have a D stuck in your coffee, a lady D, whatever. Nevertheless, a bunch of these Starbucks employees protested last week. They took the day off from extorting their customers out of tips to demand more money from their bosses. Why not? And they got it. There's like a $25 million settlement. And they're like, you know what? You're right. You're right. You get $25 million divided amongst you. And we're also going to let you continue to extort your customers under the threat of a lady D in their coffee. Now, these protests that happen at these stores, what they do is, so you'll have an individual activist, like an indivisible activist. They will identify these corporations, because Starbucks is a big corporation. And the idea of evil being present in a big corporation oppressing its employees is always going to be there. And you're always going to be able to find an employee who was treated wrong, or they can tell a story about how they were treated wrong. Even if it was their own fault, it can be portrayed in a way that makes it seem like it's a big, bad corporation. And sometimes it is. And then this activist, this person who is an activist who simply gets a job to create to organize a union of employees. I mean, this has happened to Starbucks more than like any company that I followed anyway, is all of these activists sent in to get jobs specifically to organize the employees against the company. So these idiots are hiring these people who are sent there to destroy them from the inside. You know what? Good for them. They get what they asked for. That's what you get. That's what you get. And if your coffee wasn't like crack, because it's like crack cocaine, this coffee. I can't drink 3 sips out of a black, just a black coffee from Starbucks without my eyes getting bloodshot red, and me driving 120 miles per hour zigzag, because I'm amped up for like 45 minutes. That next 45 minutes, I'm super productive. I mean, I crash after that, but so that's how I justify the tip to the person who didn't do anything. In my mind, I got a high. I did crack for 45 minutes. You know what I used to do, like when I was really broke, when I was freelancing years and years ago, is you keep the same cup, and you just go get the 25-cent refill. For weeks on end, you just bring this raggy, destroyed, disgusting cup. And you're like, yeah, no, I've been here all day. I need a refill. And the cup is like, it's like a guy's boxer briefs that he's been wearing for 15 years. It's just a waistband. It's not even a cup anymore. You pour coffee in it. You got to put your mouth under it. It seeps through the bottom for 25 cents. Because anything else, you got to tip the guy, whatever. Look at it. I was going to do a short show, and I derailed on stuff. Nothing triggers me like a Starbucks discussion, A once great company ruined by internal activism. That's what you. So I used to drink energy drinks, Stoner. I can't drink them anymore. I used to drink Red Bull all the time, and it gave me heartburn, and it gave me indigestion. You ever do the 5-hour energies? Man. No, like I drink a 5-hour energy, and my eyeballs will look like I have the worst case of thyroid that you've ever seen, like veins popping out. It's a Steve Buscemi from hell situation when I drink a 5-hour energy. And seriously, for about 3.5 hours, I'm on fire. And then for the next hour and a half, I'm just reevaluating my life significantly because I'm like, I can never go to sleep again, because that's what it feels like. Like you can never go to sleep again at the tail end of a 5-hour energy. Because the energy isn't the peak as what it was, but the alertness and the wakeness is still there, and you're just begging God, please let me sleep. That's why he's white lightning. That's right. I can't imagine drinking an energy drink before playing a basketball. You have a heart attack by the end of the first quarter. Don't put your Black Grande. Zach says, don't put your Black Grande in my Black Grande. Yeah, and you're talking to a giant female. Female, I'll put that in quotes. Dell got out of the stock market because of government intervention in trading and was made a bad guy for it. Mr. Robot. All right, so as a conspiracy theorist, I think it's important that to be a good conspiracy theorist, for me anyway, you have to treat the news or information that comes from the mainstream, any source, left, right, middle, whatever, exactly the same as you treat the information that comes from any conspiracy quote influencer. Because they want to capture the podcasting, conspiratorial, whatever, Operation Trust World Economic Forum, they laid it out years ago. So being a good conspiracy theorist for me isn't questioning all of the mainstream and then just accepting any conspiratorial theory that comes from any person on the internet, who, regardless how big they might be. It's also questioning those theories. Just because you're a conspiracy theorist doesn't mean you believe every conspiracy theory. What makes you a good one is, this is a word that's been going around on X, is the discernment used to determine the good information from the bad. And determining the good information from the bad requires doing something that's very difficult, which is separating the information from the source. Because the whole idea of propaganda from anywhere is to influence us by the source so that we do not analyze the content of information given to us. Because that's the best way to lie to people. Trust me, bro. Because you hate that guy, you trust me. And I feel like Dell here, because I could have easily just said all corporations are bad. And I don't believe that they're all bad. There's companies get big and things happen. Things happen in every organization. But that doesn't mean every single rich person, every single corporation is bad. And so I like to hear stories from the inside, like Spirit of the Age says, where he had a good experience from Dell. Don't we want corporations to be good? Don't we want there to be some that don't suck and aren't laundering money and aren't just trying to profit maximize at the expense of anything? So I think it's important to, find the outliers or recognize the outliers, because I think there's more outliers in every stereotyping group than we realize. And I think we're divide and conquer, emotionally triggered into seeing the baseline, the worst of every single group, branding the whole group as the worst, and that makes it easy for everyone to just, any association that makes you think of somebody and you associate them with a certain group, to just assume they're that worst stereotype. And the good ones get lost when that happens. And for me, the good ones are important. It's like the justice system, which nobody really cares about. Innocent until proven guilty anymore. It's all court of public opinion. But the whole idea was, it's better to let 9 guilty people walk free than execute 1 innocent one. I think that's an important concept. Maybe idealistic, but I still think it's important. What did I just say? I steal? What am I? What kind of accent was. I steal? What? Just walk off a farm? What was that? I like that. I like giving hope a chance because you're proven right quite often. And I think it's easy to focus on the bad so much when we could, yes, highlight the bad that's there and alert people to it, but give just as much attention or more to the good. Again, I don't know, Dell, I don't know anything about Dell. I'm a trust and spirit of the ages probably. Starbucks, like I said, used to be a good company. Especially when I don't like the death penalty at all, honestly. And I agree, ask questions. We should be questioning people we trust or big influencers we trust the most or want to trust the most. We should be questioning them harder than the ones we already distrust because those are the mouths through which the propagandists will feed their BS, knowingly or unknowingly. Put yourself... You are an elitist globalist in your castle in the sky. Bill Gates, he's like, it's Giving Tuesday. I want to make everybody think I care about them. Literally, Giving Tuesday is a holiday that is created by all of the big foundations. Wait, let me see. It's definitely the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's a global movement unleashing the power of people and organizations to transform their communities around the world. And where is it? Okay, so it's funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Craig Newman Philanthropies, that's the Google guy, Emerson Collective, the Fidelity Charity, the Ford Foundation, the Ford Motor Company, PayPal, the David Lynch Foundation. Look, I'm not saying there's not good that doesn't come from this, but I'm just saying Jimmy Savile donated to every single charity he could, and then he would go to hospitals and rape dead bodies. And when somebody caught him, he would say, do you want the hospital to lose all the funding? I'm not saying that's what this is, but it appears to be more of a public relations effort on behalf of the elites. And that generalization I just made could potentially cause some of the people who are actually embracing Giving Tuesday for a real reason and they actually care could sweep that under the rug. And I don't want to do that. Dell, what I heard with Trump talking about the Dells and what they're donating for kids, it actually sounded pretty optimistic to me. I hope it is. And so I want to hold out hope always because there's always good people and there's always people who, you want to call them bad or you want to call them motivated by selfish reasons. But I think that prescribing the worst case onto everybody robs humanity of the great people. And as a good conspiracy theorist, I think it's important to kind of discern that instead of the blanket generalizations, which I'm guilty of. I just did it a second ago, and I caught myself in the middle of it. What if, I could do like a reading rainbow, the more you learned over here with that little gay rant I went on. The Craigslist guy. I got that wrong. Yeah. Love Craigslist. Go to those, you'll have a great time if you smoke a little weed, sit down with your friends, and just read through the Craigslist personals. That's a fun time. You're going to see a lot of BBDs, don't get me wrong. Maybe some very seemingly unkempt vaginal areas in that section. But, for 12 roses, you can meet up at a Motel 6 and you can get a personal inspection. But it is the Craigslist guy. What else did he do, Zach? What did he do after Craigslist? Craigslist was like it was pretty groundbreaking in its day. I think Facebook Marketplace is like the new Craigslist where everything's a scam. Stoner says there was a documentary I was watching a long time ago about charity and corporations or families like the Rockefeller. Exactly. There's a story. I'm going to get some of the details wrong, but one of the Rockefellers, I think it was like in the 20s or something like that, there was some protesters or something, and they had the authorities come, and they ended up shooting some of the protesters, and it looked really bad for them. So they had the Rockefeller guy, I can't remember which one it was, come down and like dance or do a big PR demonstration with one of the family members to try and make it look like he doesn't just order his people to kill on command when there's protesters. I believe it was Gallup. I think Gallup was involved. The guy who created Gallup polls was just a propagandist, like Edward Bernays. The idea behind it was, it wasn't to feel out public opinion. It was to shape public opinion. By leading. It's why we see all this shit. They don't really know how to do it anymore because people are a little more awake to it, and the influential power of polls is not. I don't think it works that much anymore. But public opinion polls they were created to lead people into believing what the creators of the poll wanted them to believe. And in presidential elections, they do that for the entire election campaign, at least in the recent memory. And then when they kind of recognize that they're going to be way off, they just start drastically changing and moving their numbers closer to the middle so that they can have, they can say, oh, no, we weren't trying to manipulate anybody. People's opinions just changed as we got closer to the elections. It's a great way to manipulate people. Like, you could go up to people, you do a public experiment and say, 95% of people believe this, 5% of people believe that, and then you ask them a question. And you're probably going to get most people in the 95% range. Just like that social experiment where they put the lines on the wall, and you have everybody's like a plant except for one guy. And they're like, which line is longer? And all of the plants, they say the shorter line is longer. And so the person who's like not a plant is like, wait a minute. It looks like this other line is longer to me, but in their minds, they get this internal monologue. They start judging themselves, saying, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not seeing this right. And they start questioning their own reality, because it is close. It's not like it's completely obvious. I mean, it is pretty obvious, but it's close enough to where it can cause you to say, wait a minute, is this just me? And then that influence, I think it was like 85% of the time, you would get the person to say that the shorter line is longer simply because all of the other people around him said it. That's public opinion polls. That's the mainstream establishment media, the agenda setting theory, where they set the agenda of what we think about, and you got to include social media into that also. And then they pace and they lead you, like the pickup art. The entire media establishment and the elitist propagandists, they're all operating on the pickup artist book. They're peacocking for attention, and they're pacing and leading you into the direction, into making decisions in their best interest that you would never make on your own because they aren't in yours. That's how you prove yourself as a politician these days. If you're an up-and-coming politician in the minor leagues, you're just organizing indivisible protest. A bunch of 80-year-old Grand Tifa ladies, they call themselves Grand Tifa. That's not my word. That's theirs. Come on, Granny, your kids don't care about you. Let's go out here and stand in a busy intersection and shout at a Tesla dealership. If you could, these organizers, the more people they can organize to take action against their own best interest, the people taking action, the higher they rise in politics. That's why Stacey Abrams got to where she is. That's why AOC. That's why Trump is good. Trump is great at that. Trump's a great organizer and influencer. All of these people, they're actors, except they're acting in a forum where most of the general public expects it to be real. You watch a movie and they're acting, and they're acting, you're suspending your disbelief. It's not premised on them trying to convince you to believe that what they're doing is real. You know it's not real. But take that exact same skill, apply it to politics, and it's a context in which the expectation is truth. The expectation needs to be exactly like when you're watching a movie. Exactly. They need to get the trust that they have deserved when it comes to the government and the mainstream since the beginning of this country. Give them the trust that they have earned, which is none. They need to convince us the default of we believe them because of the authority status needs to be done for. And there's a lot of people in this country who have embraced that. But that's why they're trying to capture the podcasting, trying to appear more authentic. Which is why I stress all the time, separate the content and the information from the source. It's hard. Try and trigger your cognitive dissonance. Because everything around us in this big psyop, because we're surrounded by screens and people trying to manipulate us all the time, it's a world of grifters, honestly. Like, truly, it's a world of grifters. That's okay. Everybody's got to make a buck, right? It's on us to recognize the grifters. We have to get better at recognizing that. That doesn't mean grifters don't tell us true information sometimes. It doesn't mean that they don't even do things that are beneficial sometimes. It just means that those true things they say and those beneficial things they do, we need to not let those things lower our guard to the point of where we just trust them without question because of those wins and because we hate the other side. Believing that people that we hate or we've been conditioned to hate in this tribal divide and conquer thing, believing that everything they say is a lie and is wrong, that's another angle of this. That is also part of the operation. Because no one only says false things all the time. Ever. Picture in your mind the worst person that you can think and meet, that you hate more than anybody else, ever. You hate everything about this person. Or, I don't even want to say hate. I don't like that word. Hate what people do. It's my 5th grade history teacher taught me, Mr. Carter. I didn't learn anything about history, but that message, don't hate people, hate what they do, it really stuck with me. Because people are doing what they think. They've created this view of the world in their own mind where they're doing this for their own interests as best for them. And they're not, some people are so narcissistic, they don't think about the consequences of it. So I don't like to use that word, but think of the person you dislike the most. It's very easy if they say something, if the people that you like the most and are influenced by the most, then come out and start bashing them for saying that thing. It's very easy to jump on board with that. And it's very difficult to say, wait a minute, I dislike this person, but that stuff they just said, some of it's not true, but that part of it is true. That's a difficult thing to do. Because the way social media works is that then makes you the enemy of the people that you kind of align with. Because nuance dies on social media. And yet, engaging in this activity of even opening your mind to the possibility of those you dislike among all the false manipulative things. And they might only say true things for the purpose of manipulating you. But still, deciphering that. Engaging in that and recognizing when those who you do trust are saying things that aren't true. That is the only thing that protects us from the psyop that we will never escape. I don't mean that as a black pill. I mean that as an awakening. It's empowering to recognize that you actually have control over what you understand to be true and what you don't. And that you have control over the emotions that you feel about. We should normalize getting butthurt over disagreement. And we should reward being open to disagreement and having conversations. Because that cripples the entire connected to screens and phones operation. That is why they overwhelm us with emotionally triggering identity politics, propaganda, 24/7. It's because they don't want us using the thing they fear the most, which is our critical thinking minds. It's easy to getting pulled into wanting to get engaged in the clicks and commenting on things that are enraging. The word of the year is rage bait from Oxford University. A perfect word, actually. I don't praise them that much, but that is a great word to describe what reality has been like. And I'm going back and forth between the comments because I don't have my screen with me today. So I apologize if I'm missing some of them. Don't hate the player, hate the game. No, I agree. So it's not just don't hate the player, hate the game. It's recognize what the game is and what it's trying to, how it's trying to use you. And then you master the game. then you can do anything. You can literally do anything once you recognize that the propaganda coming from every side is designed to turn you against your neighbor, or people who disagree with you, to distract you from people who are actually manipulating you, and to continue to vote for people in power. And to keep you in a system that they've led society and people to believe that they must follow certain steps to find some sort of success. You can actually do what you want. You can actually find out look at all the billionaires. It's all like they were in their garage, they dropped out of college. Like, all the people telling us we have to follow these steps and do all this BS, none of them did it. They all operate outside of this framework that they have created to control the public. And once you realize it's all an illusion, you can then excel above and beyond it. And you will find that when, being bold, once you realize that, while some people, they might take issue with it, probably because it undermines their power, most people appreciate it. Most people appreciate things and actions taken, bold or in line, whatever, when they're done authentically and when they're done with a mind towards what you want to do, but also how what you want to do is going to help people you're interacting with what they want. It's the barter system, man. It's the barter system in the modern reality. And they want us to rely on them. They want, like, the conservatives, the Republicans. It's so funny. It's not funny. It's like, I guess a little funny. They always campaign on smaller government. We're small government conservatives. But it never ends up that way, ever. Ever. Government never, ever gets smaller. And the people who get in power never, ever start shrinking it. They might try and eliminate a little bit over here, but they're going to expand it over there. That's the one consistent thing, is regardless of who's in power, the government's power expands. And we're constantly saying, oh, that's a small government guy. No, it's not. It's not. It's actually not a small government guy. Maybe they get in office, they get co-opted. But nevertheless, this is why you're never going to have real disclosure with aliens. So let's say, I don't know if I'm not saying this is true, but let's say that aliens are interacting with our global leaders in our government. Let's say they pick up the phone. They're like, hey, Guac from Scorby up there. How are all the tall, 7 foot tall, beautifully busted, humanoid green bitches you got on Scorbia? And how about those little Gerber baby 3 foot tall men? Like, that's, I create in a show I used to do all the time, an improv show called Our Astronaut University. I created a planet called Scorbia, where the women are tall, green, beautiful. They're 7 feet tall, and all the men are like, they look like Gerber babies, but they're ripped. They're really short midgets and they're ripped. And we had a lot of battles against them. So you're talking to the Scorpions. When can I get a 7 foot tall green, big titty bitch down here? If they're having those conversations all the time, they're not going to tell us. They're not going to say, guys, I'd like to introduce you to my friend. Some of you guys have been waiting for this for a long time. Come on out here, Glock, let you go, and just have some alien come out and do a press conference. They would never tell us that, because that would immediately undermine every ounce of power the government has. They would never tell us that. They would say, we know the aliens, but they'll only talk to us. We will talk to the aliens for you. They would be the Pope in Catholicism. I'll talk to God for you. You tell me all your secrets. I promise I'm not a CIA agent. Let's get inside the confessional. Yeah, Twitter sucks. Twitter sucks. I'm going to be honest. It really does. I like Twitter because I've met a lot of people on there, done a lot of shows with people on there. But this whole idea that we are the media now, which is the dumbest thing to say ever. I hated that. You might as well say we are on Epstein Island now. Like, why would you want to be those people? We're the piece of shit now. We're the worst people now. Like, why don't you be better than that? I hated that thing. But now on X, the trending news stories every single day are just infighting rumors. It's just a bunch of people with big followings fighting and arguing with each other that become trending stories, probably because a lot of the posts are paid for. And none of it is real. Like the way that the AI frames it, and it's like, you'll see a trending story of Charlie Kirk assassinated at UVU, and there's a debate over who the shooter was. Like, yeah, we know this is not a news story. This is Candace just did a podcast, and so we're going to make this the entire Twitter feed. Or it's a bunch of bots. It's crazy to me. I started, I know we all know this, a dead internet theory, but I started kind of like cataloging a lot of the accounts because I would notice a consistent pattern of language used by certain accounts whenever there was a controversial topic. And they're all bots. They're all created within the past 6 months. They all say this. They focus on one topic. They use the same language, all of them. And right now, what I'm thinking about is Candace Owens, but they do it for a bunch of them. Like every single TPS, USA, weird organization. All of these people have all these army of bots. Which I'm like, where do you guys pay for these bots? Like, how do you do all that? But they're clearly bots. And you see, I got so pissed the other night because I saw this one comment. I can't remember what the comment was, but I recognized it as a bot, and I went and looked at the page, and it was definitely a bot. It was just copy and paste, account just created. And then I went back to the post I was looking at, and I was like, this guy or this bot has 40 comments. 40 people have commented on this bot's comment. And I'm like, I'm getting 2 comments and one, like, I need to be more bot-like. It's just crazy. They send the bots in to blow the conversation up. It's that rage bait, that frustrating rage bait that is the word of the year that is so irresistible to people. A nuanced conversation is not irresistible to people. Thinking about things and evaluating information, that is cognitive work. It overloads your brain. That is not irresistible. But engaging with an enraging bot, my God, that bot's probably making $2,000 a month. Make sure you want to get in the bot business. You see all those people whose accounts are located in Bangladesh and Africa, wherever, and they're like MAGA and just huge accounts. It's just a big scam. And then you think about it, and it's like, man, it's really profitable to be a psychopath. To not give 2 shits about the impact you have and what you're influencing people to believe and how it could affect their lives. It's a very profitable thing. And it's very easy for those who are able to do that with a clear conscience to make a lot of money. I don't know how people do. I can't. It's like thinking about people in power. One of the things that makes it hard for some people to believe conspiracy theorists when they talk about those who try and run the world is the fact that people project themselves into those positions and they think like themselves. I would never do that. I would never create a foundation for children's hospitals so that I could have access to the nurses and grope them like a Jimmy Savile. It's so out of the realm of reality to people that they say, I would never do that. That can't possibly be true. The reality is the people who create those rules are the psychopaths who know that you will operate within them and that it's very difficult to recognize that they always operate outside of them, especially when it's beneficial to them. It doesn't mean there's not good politicians, but it's a recognition of reality and the way things work. And for me, one of the most eye-opening things, I've told the story a lot, was when I encountered my first true, pure, pathological line con artist, a woman she grew up on the streets as a con artist. It was fascinating to watch once I realized what was going on. And that's actually when I kind of started really getting I was always interested in conspiracy and whatnot, but like the psychology of cons and how they operated. And I started reading all kinds of books on it and studying propaganda, and then looking at how that applies to the political world. And it's just fascinating. Politics is just a street level con artist trying to survive. And that's the skill they've developed. But you put them in suits and you put them on the grand stage. And you have a team around them that helps them when their lives collapse. Because when a con artist's lives collapse, they leave town. They misdirect, they leave town, they insult, they send armies of people who believe them. Because you can't tell people they're being conned. They get mad at you, they defend their deceiver. They discover it for themselves, and then you then have a conversation with them. Yeah, no, you're right. That is the political world. Read the book, The Big Con. That is the political world. Keep saying it. Some good ones are there. There are limited hangouts that provide useful information. That's not to say dismiss everything. It's just to say beware. Beware. When you feel a tingling in your back, when you feel hot inside and your anger directed at someone who's just trying to survive, or a grandmother who's just looking to fulfill her time and overcome her fear of what propagandists have led her believe is coming, when it's directed that way and not at those who have created the situation, step back and say, why do I feel this way? Why? Like, I feel so hot inside. Like it's, we're emotional beings. We like to think we're Spocks. None of us are Spocks. We're all dogs, man. We're all dogs seeing a cat walk across the street, and all the politicians do is they just send cats, and we're in the window barking at them. That's what they want. We got to be police dogs trained to keep our cool, to embrace cognitive dissonance, and not be manipulated by the satisfaction that comes with confirmation bias. I'd never, ever... Oh, wait, some of the chats. What's up, Steve? We're in a global power shift, says Weixican. We're in a global power shift. As the dollar crumbles, we lose our status. It's true. As the world superpower, China, begins to rise. Allegedly, Venezuela is about regional control and monitoring what we can, and the resources over there and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. So there's like a lot going on the global scale that we personally have no control over, and it's easy to can feel like. I think for some people it really makes them feel helpless. I don't think anybody in here, but people I've talked to, they get really quickly. They're like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, live your life, do what you can that's in front of you, become as self-sufficient as you can. In a digital world where we are connected, that's difficult because we didn't grow up being hunters and gatherers, but we can still learn skills and we can empower ourselves, despite the belief that we have to go through a public school system and get a college degree or PhD and then be organized by their children of the elites who went to schools. The public goes to schools where they're taught to fall in line and not ask questions, and the elites' children go to schools where they're taught to organize those people and tell them what to do. So recognizing that and then just subverting it and just recognizing how you can help people, and that to me is very empowering, is realizing the restraints are an illusion and the power within you to learn and to accomplish and succeed is endless. Now, you will eventually be called like a white nationalist terrorist. Like if you were to grow some potatoes or can some corn, that will get you on a domestic terror watch list. Warning. But the very reason that happens, and that actually has happened, under the Countering Domestic Terrorism Strategy published in 2021, the reason that happens is because self-sufficiency and empowered public doesn't need a government giving them helping them. The whole fucking purpose of the government is you can't do anything, idiot. We'll do it all for you. Once you start to realize, yes, I can, then they're like, well, you're a terrorist, bro. Let's see what we got here. Just don't be gay. That's all you can really do at this point. It's true. Some people have a problem not being gay. I don't. Some people it's like being a Georgia Tech fan. I don't choose to be a Georgia Tech fan. I wasn't born into it. I was enculturated into it. I would choose to be an Alabama fan or a UGA fan. I would never choose a Georgia Tech fan's life. Secondary degree in thespian. Really, if you want to be a politician, study political science and be a thespian. Absolutely. I talk about this a lot, but I'm finding that a lot of people don't realize that Ma'am Dami's mom is a Hollywood director. And that Ma'am Dami was an up-and-coming rapper named Mr. Cardiman that was featured in his mom's movies, and he won like an Emmy or something like that. Just a totally created person from an elitist family. His father's like a world-renowned public intellectual. And people are like, the terrorists are going to blow up. I'm like, really? This guy? You think this guy walked out of a cave with a turban? This guy walked out of a castle in the sky. And he did the best Obama impersonation. And he became mayor of New York because the guy he ran against groped your daughter's titties and killed your grandmother. That's how you know that everybody wanted Ma'am Dami to win. They put him up against a guy who half of New York blames for killing their elderly family members and molesting their female kin. Isn't that crazy? Cuomo's campaign slogan might as well have been, sometimes it takes the rapist to stop a brown gang rapist. I mean, that might as well have been the slogan. I'm joking, obviously. I don't want to get sued for defamation by implication, which is a thing that's going to be happening now. I know people don't like to hear this, but because of Candace Owens, she's an op. She's an op to make conspiracy theorists look bad. That doesn't mean she doesn't say true things or things that I agree with or take positions sometimes that I agree with. It means that she does that for the purpose of co-opting an audience so that she can then take it to the extreme and become the stereotype of a conspiracy theorist that will then be used to censor us all. I've seen this happen before, and that's what's going on. She will move on to the next thing. Her and her British lord husband, very homosexual-looking husband, will move on to the next grift. It's kind of crazy, right? Did you realize that you could have a position where you don't believe the official story and you think Josh Hammer should go plow his own face because he's a douchebag, and you can also believe that Candace is not doing any of us any favors? Is she doing it on purpose? Is she being manipulated? The woman is a masterclass in propaganda tactics. I know some people don't like to hear that because there's an emotional connection. Because I have a lot of problems with Israel. Bibi Netanyahu's awful, okay? I understand the desire. And she exploits that. I understand that. But that's part of it. If you can separate your emotions from, I tell people this all the time about Trump who are progressives. I know you hate Trump is what I tell them. But if you can separate your hate for him for a little bit and just watch his performance and just watch the way he presents information and the way he speaks, you can learn a lot of tactics and techniques that you can use in your own public speaking, at work, whatever. They're very skilled at what they do. People always say they suck, they're stupid when it comes to politicians. No, that's the wrong evaluation process. They're not politicians. They're propagandists. They're exceptional propagandists. AOC sounds dumb on purpose, okay? AOC could have gotten an interview at any Fortune 500 company in the country before she graduated college because she had started a number of businesses. She had succeeded in a number of things, and then all of a sudden they needed a candidate in the Bronx. They wiped her whole history, and they said, you're a bartender in the Bronx. Speak to the Bronx people, because she did it the best as an actress. And looking at it as a WWE type of fun thing helps for me. Because the emotional attachment to these figures who are operating for the purposes of making you emotionally attached. blinds us to the skills they're displaying that could actually be very useful for all of us, and are useful when it comes to if you want to use them for good or if you want to recognize when they're being used to manipulate in any other context. Donald Trump and Candace Owens both are Hall of Fame propagandists. Both say true things, both also exceptionally skilled. Separate the emotion, watch them and learn, because it's a clinic. It's impressive, honestly. Did you see the Owen Benjamin bit with her being a lion hunting gazelle? That's funny. I mean, that concept is funny. Owen's funny. I'm glad to see he's criticizing her a little there, because at first he was kind of buying into it a little bit. Or maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just being sarcastic. I don't know. I don't know. Some of the things she said has been useful. But she's also insinuation accused. People seem to think, because you see in the comments, people say, oh, she didn't say exactly that. Actually, defamation, you are not protected simply by using insinuation. There's defamation by implication in multiple states. Elijah is being sued by Kash Patel's, Kash Patel's girlfriend, 24 years old. She just loves bite-sized, cross-eyed Indians. Like every guy she's dated has probably been exactly like Kash Patel. I'm not going to say anything other than that. Elijah is being sued for implying that she is a Mossad agent, which many people have discussed. I've discussed the possibility of. And that is what they will continue to do, and they'll use cases like this as precedent. And then more and more states will do that, and what it will target are conspiracy theories, content. If you read the lawsuit, the defamation lawsuit from Macron, what a creepy relationship that is. All of that's creepy. It's a 250-page lawsuit, and they actually counter everything Candace says. And they provide images. They provide a lot of things that most people don't realize, because the source of their information about it is coming from Candace. I don't know what's true about it. I just know that there's a whole bunch of information that people don't realize exist that doesn't look good for Candace. I honestly think she'll probably lose. There's 10 people in France being sued for defamation for the same thing, because Candace took all of that theory. She stole it from a book somebody wrote in France. It's not even her theory. She took it from somebody in France, and those people are being sued also. Candace probably has had death threats. I don't doubt that at all. You get weird messages when you're a public figure, especially one of her size. There's no doubt. But the theory she came up with, and the expectation of accepting it as true until proven untrue, is an inversion of what America was built on and the justice system was built on. You have to prove that the thing that I claimed isn't true, even though I haven't given information to suggest that it is. And then with the online environment, you have these people who are predictably going to say things that sound similar to that, some of them, that you can then say, anybody who says this thing with these trigger words, and she's very good at lacing, she baits people who don't like her with trigger words that they then capture and use, that she can then say anybody who says these things are obviously Zionists who are being paid by Israel. And then you have the bots come in, and you can't have a real conversation. Because a real conversation would be, what has she said that's true and useful? What has been true and useful that the TPUSA and FBI, all of them have said things that are true. All of them have said things that are false. So to get to the truth, you have to combine the truths of all of them and get rid of all of the BS that they all try and distract us with in the divide and conquer strategy. And then, quite frankly, in a case like this, I don't trust the FBI at all. But the way that it works in any criminal prosecution is they're going to withhold some of the evidence. This whole thing is just such a weird thing. You see people online like So Erica Kirk, I've been very off put by all of that. I don't know what their background is. I know this organization is kind of strange to me. It's like you enter TP USA and then you instantly get married with like a weird arranged marriage type thing. Is what it seems like. And then just the whole way they talk, it just feels like salesman-y, and it's the leather pants coming out. That's probably how she's always dressed. The whole thing, though, I can see how it can be off-putting. Let people evaluate it based on the truth, though. And the other day, she's with Megyn Kelly doing a podcast, and I see a tweet from, I don't know who it was, one of these big accounts, who he says, he quoted, "I would have gotten less hate if I had grabbed his ass." And he had Erica Kirk, and he put it in quotes. And then he put, that was the tweet, and then on the video image, put that text on the video image. So reaffirming this is what Erica Kirk said. So anybody who just scrolls and doesn't watch the video goes, oh my gosh, Erica Kirk said, talking about J.D. Vance, I would have gotten more hate if I grabbed his ass. I read that and I was like, oh, I hope that's not true. I hope that's not true. I bet it's not. And I watched the video and it was completely not true. What happened was somebody asked her about that hug, which I thought that was a little bit of a handsy hug with J.D. Vance myself. And she explained that that's how she's always touched people. You could probably go find videos in the past and see if that's kind of how she always hugs people. There's probably a way to confirm that. I haven't done that, but I bet that there's a way to do that. And then Megyn Kelly, after she gave her answer, Megyn Kelly said, it's like you grabbed his ass. And then Erica said, I probably would have got less hate for that. That's a different scenario than what was presented and then doubled down on with the text on the video, which is an obvious attempt to deceive, right? You wouldn't do that if you weren't trying to deceive. It's a weird conversation to have anyway, but the attempt to put the belief or the attempt to short circuit people's own ability to look at what actually happened and decide for themselves and say, I better not let them think for themselves. I better manipulate what happened so that they think what I want them to think before there's a possibility of them thinking something that might go against the narrative I want to push. I mean, that's what happens with all of this. And I underneath one of those video, I just said, that's not how the interaction went. This is how it went. And I posted verbatim what was said and who said it. I wasn't trying to push anybody in any direction. I was just pointing out that this representation by this huge influencer was not true. And a handful of comments would be like, oh yeah, like that really matters, bullshit journalist. I'm like, I got hate from a number of comments. I'm just like, some of them were bots, but I'm like, this is crazy. Because anybody who knows me knows I'm not like a Zionist. Like it's crazy that pointing out something that's false and saying, here's the truth, can result in getting so much hate when the truth could even be interpreted as a little weird, to be honest. And that's why rage bait, I think, that and everything else on social media is the word of the year. Let me read what that is. When they want a hero, we will provide a sassy bitch, a sassy black lioness. That's funny. Albert Pike, probably. That's funny. Yeah, I've never seen so many Republicans fight over a black woman before with Candace Owens. Oxford University. The phrase rage bait refers to online content that is deliberately designed to elicit anger or outrage by being frustrating, provocative, or offensive, with the aim of driving traffic to a particular social media account. The person producing it will bask in the millions of comments, shares, and likes, and the result of the algorithms used by social media companies, because although we love fluffy cats, we'll appreciate that we tend to engage more with. So the algorithms, they promote you when we engage in like negative content and stuff like that, is what it's saying. Rage bait and the other contenders were aura farming and biohack. Biohack. So what's aura? What is that? Am I saying that right? A-U-R-A, aura farming. That means to cultivate a public image by presenting oneself in a way intended subtly to convey an air of confidence, coolness, or mystique. Oh, so it's like a pickup artist person. It's like what that is. So I thought it was interesting that was the word, because the 2024 word of the year was brain rot. I think those two go hand in hand. And that made me think about the manipulation of language, not to go off the deep end for too long. I remember an hour and 10 minutes ago when I said this was going to be a short 30-minute show. I lied. I was wrong. It was not an intentional lie. But everybody knows drip now. Drip's a common slang word. It's like, oh, he got all that drip. Look at he's all dripped out, right? Which is kind of weird. I don't know if that applies to a woman. Be like, look at her, she's all dripped out. That might be an interesting situation if you could tell that a woman is all dripped out. Nevertheless, drip is something for like a stylish, cool person that you might want to hang out with now. But did you know, fun fact, that drip was a slang word in the 1940s and 50s too? Except back then, drip meant a really annoying, boring person who you'd never want to spend time with. Isn't that interesting? Today, as slang, drip means stylish, cool, I want to be around them. But before, it meant, what a boring person, get away from me. That to me was kind of a, just kind of an illustration of the way language can be manipulated to mean the opposite. And oftentimes, especially in politics, language is not concretely defined. They're called like glittering generalities in the propaganda language. And I think they even I think the actual propaganda literature, the research, I think it calls it bad names, which is not a really great word to describe it. But when you're talking negatively, it's the bad terms. When you're talking like positively, it's the democracy. We must protect democracy, liberty. And those are good things, but everybody has a different personal meaning of it, and they want it to be that way, because that's how you get a bunch of people under a big tent, is you convince all of them that their definition of this word is what they're fighting for. And then you convince another group that you're going to bring into that same tent that their very different definition is actually what they're fighting for. And the second they concretely define it with an example, they alienate all of the people who don't fall under that category. So that is why language is such an interesting thing to look at, to study, the linguistics of propaganda. And they do these panels. They bring people in. They test different words and language. They do this all the time. There's a book about it. I can't remember the guy. Frank Lutz, I think is his name. He wrote one of the books about it. There's multiple. But they will connect people's heart and their brains to monitors. And they will feed them these words they're testing to see how it spikes their emotions. Isn't that crazy? The ones that trigger those lizard brains, those are the keepers. It's language landmines, and they're laid everywhere. And the moment people step on them, conversation's over, because critical thinking has been short-circuited. All right, so I went a lot longer than I was actually going to do. Sign, another hijacked word. Sigh. Drip is clothing. Is that a so drip is like it's people who look good, right? I just keep thinking of the Kevin Hart commercial where he's like, I'm all dripped out, he's got his outfit on. If she's dripped out, does that mean she's got a WAP? What's a WAP, Corey? Is that a wide-ass pussy? Is that, or is that my... I'm just guessing. Acronyms can go anyway, you know? Thank you, Grubinator. Anybody who's in Atlanta, by the way, there's going to be a show on, I believe, December 13th at 9 p.m., a Christmas-themed show that me and the person, Josh, who plays Trump on the show, will be a part of. Ian might be. I'm not sure. I'm just finding out some of the details today. But it's going to be at a place formerly called, what was it called? Limelight Theater. So if you're interested in that, when I find out when the tickets are for sale, I will link it. But if you're in Atlanta, you want to come see that, and come check it out. Corey says, brain rot, doom scrolling, and rage bait. Welcome to the system. What a great quote that is. You could put that on the shirt, Corey. That's great. I think that was their bigger slogan once more. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Now, words are just little. It's like computer programming for our brains. And you can catch yourself in it, you know. It's coming out of the cave, right? You can feel yourself get hot. And as we get older, I think we're better at it. We're better at recognizing when we've been a little too emotional, and then we go, oh, okay, I see. Like, it's tough, you know, when that right word or phrase has triggered something deeply primal in you. And you can even know this is happening on purpose, but you don't care sometimes because you feel so angry. You're like, I don't care. I know it's on purpose. I don't care that I'm being induced to behave in a way that is against my best interest that I wouldn't do because it's going to cause me to get in a situation that is not good. I'm going to do it anyway because I'm so hot and enraged. That's what we're up against. But people recognize it, though. People are smart. We're all smart. We're all stupid and we're all smart. But so are they. They're smart, but they're stupid. And they're pussies. They're all a bunch of pussies. Bill Gates is a big, big fupa. He's a big fupa is what he is. All right, I'm going to show you guys one more thing. So this is crazy. I showed this to Sam and Austin on whatever this is, which you can get by subscribing to patreon.com/propaganda report or propreport.locals.com. It's the subscriber-only show called Whatever This Is, as I just said, that I do with Sam Tripoli and Austin McCard. And we were talking about Mask, and I think Sam brought up, it's a Tom Cruise movie, him and Nicole Kidman. What's that movie called? Cruise, creepy, elite movie. Eyes Wide Shut. The Mask and Eyes Wide Shut. I think Sam was saying, like, these people, these degenerates are putting masks on, they're gangbanging each other, these things. And we were talking about that, and it made me think of an improv book and a famous improv teacher named Keith Johnstone, who one of his books, he talks a lot about masking. Not COVID-like masking, but masking in the sense of you get these people doing the improv exercise and you have all these weird masks in the room and you get them to choose a mask that they're drawn to. And then they put the mask on and then they become another mother effer. So it's a way to kind of get people out of their shell and to become a character, because that's what you have to do when you're performing. You have to become a character when you're on stage. And this was a way to really, almost behind that shell of anonymity, like the internet, induce people into that. And here is a video that I will show you of that exercise. Oh, shoot. There you go. Can you guys see that? All right, here you go. Watch this masking exercise.
Of masks. Don't choose the mask. Find one that's comfy. You don't know what it'll do anyway. Isn't that right, guys? It's not what you thought. No. So there's no point in making a pre-selection.
You've got nice hair. That's nice. Looking good. Oh my goodness.
Tell him how to do it.
Okay, you're going to make the sound and not the face, and it's going to be big. Yes. Go! Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! That's it! Okay, hi, okay. Oh, no one there! Okay, take it off. He's going to yell at me in a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, one, go!
If you can be this large and you can build this enormous character, enormous in terms of normal human beings, then you're not so frightened without the mask.
Look, I got the hat. Look at us in there together! I know! So anyway, who are you? You don't know. You don't
weird
know.
stuff.
Can you count to 10 for us?
I don't know. Let me ask. Can you count to 10 on me? I don't think so. Okay, I'm going to now teach you to count to 10. That's okay. We just start. That's okay. We'll just start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was tempted.
Trance Mask. It's actually a book at keithjohnstone.com. What he said was interesting. That you put the mask on and you're able to do things that you might not otherwise have been able to do. And that can empower you to create that pattern, and then maybe take the mask off and you can do it. But I think there's some relevance there in our political actors. They might not put on an actual mask before they go out and speak publicly, but knowing performers and actors as I do, and that's what politicians are, they psych themselves up and they essentially put on an emotional mask that is their different persona, their public persona that they have to become to do things that maybe maybe their private persona wouldn't be cold enough to do or bold enough to do, even depending on what it is. It's interesting though, right? Like, I think it would be a really maybe deranged, maybe fun experiment if you get a couple people, maybe 2 or 3 people who really hate Trump, and you put authentic looking Trump mask on them, and you put them in a room in these masks, and the room is full of mirrors. And every mirror they look into, they see Trump, the object of their hate, but they also see themselves because they are what they see. The psychosis that could induce could be wild, That would be like a fun TV reality show. You put people in authentic looking masks of the people they hate, and then you surround them by mirrors and just see what happens. I think I'll end right there. They are reptiles wearing human masks. Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. Nevertheless, I didn't mean to go this long. Thank you for listening. The stream, it works. The technology works, so that's good. It doesn't seem to have any glitches. Appreciate you engaging and talking with me and let me rant a little bit and play here. And I think everybody's wonderful. Whatever Giving Tuesday is, you guys are the gift. We, the general public, we give to each other every day. We are the ones living in it. We are giving. We are buying, we're selling, we're helping our neighbors, we're helping our children, our family, our elders. So screw whatever they want to put a branding on to try and make themselves look good. It's the people who are hardworking, good individuals that I think are the most important. And I love you guys, and I think everybody has uniqueness inside them that can become greatness. And tapping into that, I think, is very possible, especially once you realize that the propaganda illusion that has been designed to prevent us from discovering that greatness, which you realize that that is, in fact, an illusion. Embrace your power, find it, have fun, live life. We'll talk to you guys next time. PropagandaFight.com, Propaganda Report podcast on every podcasting app. We will talk to you all next time. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day. Considering hosting a show with a mask, there's no telling what would happen. I could just start screaming like a lunatic, like a Neanderthal, like those two did. It'd be interesting, especially when there's multiple people there, because people's energy gets like, you saw them, how they were starting to like rock back and forth. Their energy was together. I mean, that's a whole nother discussion, not to go back into the show, on crowds, getting people in crowds together, and how crowds become one collective. How the individual gets swallowed up by the crowd, and it becomes one collective behavior that is, determined by the overwhelming energy that exists in that crowd. You can get people to like commit crimes and do stuff like that. That's why you have the guys dressed in all black breaking a window to begin at Black Lives Matter at January 6th, because they need a first mover, and then they have that crowd energy, the collective energy that then just follows in behind. It's very interesting. The psychology of human behavior, those in power that is what they study, the social experiments. And I think it's best that we learn as much about it as we can too, because it reveals things about ourselves, and we understand ourselves better, and we understand situations that we find ourselves in better. And it's helpful because it also creates empathy and sympathy for the way that others might behave in a certain way because of a crowd they've been induced in through identity divisive politics. But a recognition of what's happening can make a reaction that we might have had to that different, because the reaction might have been to be angry and fall right into it, also fall into the trap and fight, and whatever happens, violence, whatever, it could be awful. But recognizing it and understanding it enables you to take a breath, recognize the human being, recognize the spell they've been cast under, and then talk to them. And when they create stereotypes, and they create collective groups, and they lay triggers because they want one group to react to a stereotype of another that's not true, but is the brand they've been labeled with. And they create the expectation of the reaction. I'm not being clear. Basically, people come at you and they yell at you and they get mad at you, and they're expecting you to do the same. And oftentimes you do the exact same because it's hard not to. And then that just reinforces their stereotype belief about you and causes the divide to grow further, the tension to get worse, and it escalates, right? But when they come at you and you don't react the way they have been programmed to expect you to react, it short circuits their programming completely. Because everything they are ready to do is based on what they've been programmed to expect you to react to. The action is in the reaction. If the reaction is different, the programming collapses. That's how you defeat them. Defeat them. I say defeat them like everybody live your life. That's the best way to defeat people. Was it George Costanza? The best revenge is living well. And Costanza says, "There's no chance of that." Well, there's a chance of that. There's a lot of goodness in the world, and I know I reiterate this way too much because a lot of people in the conspiracy community can be black-pilled. Recognizing propaganda is empowering and can lead to I don't know the right word for it. I can see the right word for it, but it can lead to the coming to fruition of all that is great that's inside of each of us. We'll talk to you guys next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day.